we're just going to go ahead, open up the office hour. It's an open Q&A. So if you'd like, you can just unmute yourself or ask questions in the chat. And we have a little bit of a small group. So I might just prompt real quick. I know a lot of people might have seen that we're looking to release 3.0. We're still debating, kind of when the best timing is for that. Just wanted to hear if anyone has an opinion or just doesn't have an opinion for the sake of not needing to have an opinion on the 3.0 release. Just be curious to hear what you all think. Yep, and Chris just dropped that in the chat as well.
If you don't want to speak about it, please go vote about it. They're looking to collect as much as they can by Friday, and make some decisions based on what the community has given them.
I have an adjacent question.
Sure.
Based on the discussion of the scheduling of 3.0, and a lot of that discussion is around what the impact of SemVer has on the project and things. And of course, then SemVer is a big question about what's breaking API change.
Yeah.
And so the question is, what really qualifies as a breaking API change in the OpenSearch system?
That's a really great question. I don't know that I have a super solid answer, but I believe our guidelines so far have been, breaking API compatibility or functionality genuinely not working correctly. So there could be, I think, slight differences and maybe some scoring and things like that, but generally, a breaking API change is when it either doesn't return the right data or the feature doesn't exist anymore. We'll pull features out occasionally. So does that generally answer your question?
Okay.
Yeah.
It's a start.
Yeah.
Just the front...
Actually.
Oh, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, do you have like a case that you have that might kind of demonstrate what you're looking for?
No, I'm just trying to wrap my head around generally. I'm Pete Fitzgibbons. I'm brand new to the AWS OpenSearch team, working on front-end observability. And the question is just really super generic. Of like what qualifies as a breaking change. And also, does that also apply to the domain of the front-end UI code?
Well, so this is Joshua Bright, product manager at the OpenSearch project. Yes, some qualifications of breaking changes for 2.0 may be a good way to kind of frame some examples. So, one example is the dashboards team updated their version of Node.js. And so that was considered a breaking change. And I know that there's another upcoming version of Node that they want to update to, I think, at least by the April timeframe of next year. So that will need to be kind of bundled into another kind of breaking change if we end up bundling in dashboards. The other examples of breaking changes for 2.0 were kind of what David was talking about, which was the renaming of APIs, cat APIs. So those are examples of what we would consider a breaking change. I think when the team looked at some that were originally baked into 3.0, they a lot of the features that they were hoping to release were actually additive features and not officially breaking changes. And so that's kind of like where we're at in terms of the debate of, do we just extend the 2.x version line, or do we make some changes in 3.0 which will help us scale longer term?
Yeah, and that's a really great call out. I just brought up as well the and pasted in the chat some documentation on those breaking changes. So yeah, absolutely. Like Node.js, I know the underlying Lucene change, that is a breaking change. Upgrading to Lucene 9. Terminology that is like expected. So for example, a lot of nodes were labeled master slave, and now we're going to main worker. Is it Josh, is it main worker or main data? Like, is data node the new worker node?
Yeah, I believe so.
Okay. So those sorts of things where the expectations are completely changed. If you go and deploy a Helm chart and you were expecting, master, then that is not there anymore. So a lot of people would roll that out, deploy it, and it would break immediately unless they'd made updates for that.
Yeah, I'm Josh Romero. I'm one of the maintainers of the OpenSearch dashboards. And I think to Peter's question, I think when it comes to the dashboards and more of the front end UI library stuff, it does get very tricky in that in many cases, a lot of the interfaces or components or even shared dependencies that plugins rely on are not necessarily well documented as like what's public to be used and what's private. And so we kind of have to make the conservative assumption that plugin authors are kind of relying on many different things, even up and including things like test IDs, because a lot of functional tests are written based on certain assumptions in the dashboards code. So that's actually one of the things that I think from the developer experience perspective on the dashboards team has been pushing us to eventually kind of decouple the releases, because there are some certain things that we do that are not really breaking in terms of API changes, but that basically because you don't have well enough defined API boundaries, we would consider breaking on the plugin ecosystem just because we don't have, we can't see what people are using, what they're not. So I think that's the other thing we consider, but certainly on the dashboards team, we lean toward when in doubt, considering that something may be breaking, particularly for downstream plugins.
Yeah, that's some really good context to have. I mean, it is challenging when you have kind of these like overlapping dependencies and you're not sure where someone might be expecting something that you don't realize is there. I kind of see what you're saying.
Yeah, and there's some issues, particularly on the dashboard side. If folks want to look into, there's some issues around plugin decoupling, and that's a lot of kind of giving us a little bit more clarity to like do security patching for dependencies, particular, so that you don't have kind of these shared and colliding dependencies between plugins and like dashboard plugins and dashboards code. So yeah, there's a lot of kind of work in that area, but folks can connect with me if they're interested to know more.
Yeah, that's super awesome. So definitely anyone who's interested or wants to participate, please reach out, because I know there's a lot of RFCs and things out there right now that need some eyes and attention to make sure they get built correctly or well. Yeah. What other questions does anyone have? There we go. Pull in that decoupling question. Thank you, Josh, for sharing that in the chat. And Chris also just dropped another RFC that we are looking for feedback on, in particular in the GeoShape field. So, well, a little bit of a quiet day. Any other general thoughts on just how OpenSearch is used, or any questions about kind of things you'd like to see? I don't know. What are you guys working on?
Quiet afternoon, but we did have an engaging meeting this morning as well. So
we did, and that will be dropping on YouTube for people to know eventually. Cool. Well, we can hang out for a couple minutes, and then just if anyone has questions, feel free to pipe up. Otherwise, I'm just going to talk to myself. Just kidding.
He's not really.
No, I'm not. I'm actually going to sit up here and we'll scroll. I'm going to scroll the project roadmap because I haven't had a chance to look at it today. And I'm curious to see what other breaking changes are kind of out here or flagged on the roadmap right now. I'm actually not seeing too much that's documented as breaking, which I think is really interesting. I guess there are only a couple places where we really deprecate things, which is at the beginning of a release. Yep. So here, for example, is a list of all the breaking changes in 2.0. I think fair note, these are just deprecated. Hold on, concerning changes. Not necessarily, no, these are breaking. Because I see the Lucene 9 upgrade, that was breaking. Gradle 7's breaking. And then here we go. Here's this section where we deprecate. So we generally try to give, at least one major release, or sorry, one minor release worth of notice as far as deprecation for breaking changes that are coming up. Wow. There was a lot here in 2.0, which is interesting because according to Andrew's issue, we don't have necessarily that much. That's for 3.0. Andrew, do you have any thoughts on, the 2.0 versus just holding out 2.0 or, pushing to 3?
Yeah, I guess hello guys. Yeah, it's Andrew here. I also, I voted initially for given total like longer than 3.0, but then we had to reverse this back, the API compatibility issue, when we had a mimic Elasticsearch version just for other guys to keep going with all the integrations. And I guess this was not expected, and it still keeps dragging the Elasticsearch compatibility stuff. We should not be, I guess, as early as as soon as we get this out, just to cut all the ties from Elastic would be better for us.
Yeah, no, I think
so. 3, yeah, and as we see, there are not too many breaking changes, because in 2.0 there are many changes which were cooking for breaking for a long time. In 3.0 there are a few things which we didn't have time to push to 2.0, so we just made them in 3.0, but they are significantly less than in 2.0.
Yeah. Well, and I think one thing that would be good is, like you mentioned, breaking that kind of those ties back. I think it'd be nice for people to know it's like you're not getting the exact same thing with both, OpenSearch has its own project roadmap, and breaking compatibility is actually a distinguishing feature, so.
Because for now it just works partially with some older releases, I would say, for projects. With new ones it doesn't work at all as well. So even now we don't have a way to solve this problem for everyone, but it keeps dragging us, unfortunately.
Yeah, exactly, because you're kind of straddling both sides. You're like trying to support these things, but also at the same time trying to say, hey, come on over here. The water's nice. We've got, FluentBit, FluentD, Data Prepper. You don't need to hang on.
Exactly.
Well, also, I believe I actually haven't voted on the poll. So I'm going to go ahead and vote now. If anyone would like to take this opportunity to go ahead and vote, then please go ahead. Oops, I'm going to not show the results on the screen so that people don't know what is the favorite. Just realized that. Awesome. Well, I think this is a safe point to kind of wrap it up. But if anyone has any questions, we'll hang out for another couple more minutes. And otherwise, have a wonderful evening. Oh, I forgot to close out. Don't forget as well, register for OpenSearchCon.
Have a great one, guys.
You too, Andrew.
Bye, guys.
All right.
Ciao.
Ciao.